After 4 days of nail-biting suspense, decks are being cleared for Joseph Vijay's anointment as Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, with the CPI, CPM, and VCK finally announcing support for the TVK-led government. While the wait now is for a formal announcement of when Vijay will be sworn in as Chief Minister, there is, however, another political drama unfolding not just in Chennai, but in faraway Delhi. The Congress Party's decision to quickly dump its ally DMK and extend its support for TVK soon after the Tamil Nadu elections has it not just MK Stalin, but others in the opposition's India Bloc too. While the DMK has been accusing the Congress of backstabbing, India Bloc constituent Samajwadi Party too has joined in the row now with its chief Akhilesh Yadav taking a barely wheeled swipe at the Congress. DMK MP Kanimuri has also written to the Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla asking for a change in the seating arrangements for DMK MPs, citing an end for the party's alliance with the Congress. The fault lines have begun to appear and questions are now being asked on the future of India Bloc. Is a slighted DMK pushing its allies of the India Bloc to isolate the Congress? To discuss more on this, we have with us the Federalist political editor, Punit Nikolai Yadav. Hello, sir, and welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for having me.
So, let's talk about what's brewing right now. During the Tamil Nadu elections, Congress was the principal ally of DMK, and they were heavily campaigning against the TVK. But now they have chosen to support the TVK to form a government. How do you see this situation?
Well, there are two aspects to this because there was always, even before the elections, a group in the Congress, particularly, the second rung leaders, the leaders who claim to be very close to Rahul Gandhi, uh, who were of the view that the Congress, before the elections itself, should have broken its alliance with the DMK and gone with the TVK, right? And then there was a group of senior leaders who believed that this alliance, which has been a long standing alliance with the DMK, should not be broken. After the results, the image changed very quickly because the DMK, as we all know now, was voted out of power. It was a stunning debut for Mr. Vijay's party. And the Congress itself, although managed to win just 5 seats, the Congress immediately started sending feelers to Mr. Vijay's party of its intention to back the TVK for forming a government because the TVK lacked the majority despite being the single largest party. Okay. Now, in that scenario, one can say that the Congress has backstabbed, the Congress has ditched the DMK, the Congress is jumping ship, is being opportunistic. All of that, of course, has an element of truth to it. But then, uh, for people in the DMK, for the other allies of the Congress, there are also other questions to ask of themselves about what was the other alternative available. Right? Was it prudent for them to have the TV of the BJP-led NDA? Was that a scenario they were prepared to have? Or now, as we've been hearing, all kinds of rumors and speculations and reports of the AIA DMK and the DMK trying to stitch an alliance to, come to power just to prevent a Vijay-led government. Uh, in that scenario, in a state like Tamil Nadu, how advisable politically, socially would that kind of an experiment have been? Uh, and thirdly, would that not have undermined the mandate, which was clearly in favor of the TVK and of Mr. Vijay? So, for the Congress, yes, there were both sides of it. So, in the campaign, I mean, you said that the Congress heavily criticized the TVK. I don't think that was really the case. The Congress was very guarded in what it said about the TVK. It criticized the BJP, of course. It criticized the AIA-DMK for being an ally of the BJP, but it was not overtly critical of the TVK. They ensured that they weren't, saying things against Vijay. The DMK may have been doing it, but the Congress kept a very muted stance there, which should have also been an indication to the DMK that, if things went southwards, if things didn't go as per script and the DMK did not come back to power, the Congress would reopen its channels of communication with the TVK. And that is exactly what has happened. And if throughout the campaign for Tamil Nadu also, if you see that it was not a very cohesive, well-knit Congress DMK campaign. Rahul Gandhi refused to share stage with Mr. Stalin throughout the campaign. He didn't, the two leaders did not campaign together, unlike in the past where, there were, the last 10 years, you had these grand displays of brotherhood between the two, Stalin constantly hailing Rahul as his younger brother, Rahul always talking about Stalin as his elder brother. None of that was seen in this campaign. So that rift was already there between the DMK and the Congress throughout the campaign and has now been formalized in the way of the Congress switching sides. Some would say very unceremoniously dumping Stalin, and the DMK doing it too swiftly without the basic courtesies of politics. But then that is what has happened.
Okay, so while we are talking about the DMK Congress alliance against the TVK, so the votes were cast in favor of the DMK Congress alliance, and that are the ones that were cast against the TVK. So how can Congress leaders now convince the people about their proposed support for the TVK now?
I don't really think that convincing the people on this alliance would be a very difficult thing for either the TVK or the Congress. For the simple reason that, throughout this campaign, as I said earlier, one thing was clear that there was a sizable section of the Congress that wanted to go with the TVK even before the elections. Secondly, like the Congress, the VCK, the CPI, the CPM, which have now decided to extend support to Mr. Vijay's party, all of them have said that they are doing so to prevent the NDA, to prevent the BJP, to prevent a communal party coming to power in Tamil Nadu. And also at the same time saying that Mr. Vijay's party and our party have a common ideology. We're committed to secularism. The Congress's letter of support to the TVK also very clearly mentions that the alliance is conditional on the TVK not doing any business with a communal force or any force that weakens the constitution. So I think to that extent, they have sort of, covered up all ends. So explaining that to the people of Tamil Nadu, I don't see that being a challenge. Also, it's the same point again that the mandate, that kind of victory, and that too for a person who's an absolute greenhorn to politics, who has just floated a party and managed to win 108 seats, felling to deeply entrenched parties like the AIA DMK and the DMK, shows that the mandate was clearly in the TVK's favor. The people of Tamil Nadu wanted a TVK government. So for the Congress to be extending support becomes easier, as it becomes easier for the CPI, for the CPM, for the VCK, or any other, smaller outfit that may, over the next day or two, still come forward and extend support. To say that, look, we're respecting the mandate of the people. And although the Congress was part of the DMK alliance, it was not part of the DMK government. Right? So it can still say that, see, the anti-incumbency against DMK rubbed off on us and we lost seats and we were, bundled up in just 5 constituencies. But that was the anti-incumbency against the government's actions. and not against, the Congress's actions per se. That's one of the arguments that the Congress can make. So the moot point here essentially is the manner in which the Congress has done it. Is that the right way to go about things? That's where the debate is. It's not about whether they've extended support on, or because let's not forget that the DMK still has a sizable presence. Its vote share has still been a handsome, 30% plus in Tamil Nadu. So, to go and then explain to that cadre, because ultimately those are also Tamil Nadu voters, to go and then explain to them why the Congress treated the DMK the way it has treated the DMK, that is going to be difficult for the Congress.
Right. But at this junction, do you think it is fair for Congress to face this betrayal tag? Mainly because the other constituents of India Bloc did what they wanted. Say, for example, in TMC, in Bengal, the TMC never allied with Congress. So similarly, that is what Congress, what happened in Tamil Nadu also. So at this junction, do you think it is fair for the DMK and the other India Alliance members to call Congress a betrayer?
See, these kind of trading of charges are bound to happen, and it's something that always happens when you form an alliance, you break an alliance. This is an ongoing process in Indian politics ever since coalitions became a reality. It's not as if the Congress has broken an alliance with the DMK for the first time. Uh, it's happened in the past, and even the DMK has treated the Congress in a similar fashion in the past. In fact, in 2013, just ahead of the Lok Sabha elections for 2014, it was the DMK that had unilaterally, at a press conference, announced that it is breaking its alliance with the Congress. So that was also done in a similar fashion. What makes this, and of course, you've also cited the example of the Trinamool Congress, which said it's part of the India Bloc, but in Bengal, the India Bloc was non-existent. So they said that this is a central alliance at a national level. In the state, we're doing our own thing. Now, in any case, VCK, CPI, CPM are also part of the India Bloc, right? And of the DMK-led alliance by Stalin. But they have also switched sides. They've also decided to support Vijay. So are they also backstabbing? The difference here, and which I had mentioned earlier, the difference here is not about switching alliances. The basic issue is the manner in which it has been done. Like the Congress perhaps would have done better for itself and for the larger issue of political probity and ethical politics and all of that, had the Congress, like the CPI, like the CPM, like the VCK, not come across as being so power hungry that the moment the results are out, you immediately dump your ally and say, okay, we are going to support the TVK. They could have, like the CPI and the CPM and the VCK did, drawn it out for a period of 2 to 3 days. First, reached out to the DMK. Perhaps a better way would have been if the Congress had dispatched a senior leader, some political leader in the party who has seniority, who has that gravitas, that heft, to go and talk to Mr. Stalin face to face. They could have dispatched somebody of the seniority of, say, Digvijay Singh, or some other office bearer, or BK Hari Prasad also for that matter, or a Bhupinder Singh Hooda or an Ashok Gehlot. Any of these people could have been dispatched to Tamil Nadu, that go have a word with Mr. Stalin, tell him what is our compulsion, and at least, it wouldn't have come across as such blatant opportunism. They could have even asked Mr. Chidambaram, who was right there in Tamil Nadu and who shares a good rapport with Mr. Stalin, that, you go and explain the party's view to Stalin and our compulsion to allow a secular government formation. And that is why we are doing it. The other option would have been to say that, okay, we're not immediately gunning for a role in government. To start with, you could have explored the option of outside support and made the whole thing of, taken the high moral ground of saying we're doing it to allow a secular government, we're doing it to respect the mandate of the people. And, it wouldn't have come across as belittling an old and a trusted ally like the DMK. So there were different ways in which they could have softened the blow on Stalin. But instead, what they chose to do was, what they've done. The results came out, and within like 48 hours, they said that, okay, now, yesterday we were here, now today we are going there. And made it worse by saying we're doing that because they're giving us a share in power. It makes you look very power hungry, right? Because the DMK's position has always been no power sharing, right? So that's the situation. Whereas when you compare that with what the CPM, CPI, and VCK have done, is that while they have eventually done exactly the same thing that the Congress has done, but they've drawn it out. They've said this is the result of a process of consultation. In the meantime, their leaders went and met Mr. Stalin. They were in constant touch with the DMK, and all of that was happening. And then they said that no, but we've given it a lot of thought. If we don't do this, the BJP will interfere, will try to, subvert the mandate of the people. And so we're doing it out of compulsion. That
Right.
would have been the right way to go about it.
Yeah. So as we are talking about the left parties also, and I mean, along with Congress, even the left has dumped DMK, and now the whole alliance is in tatters. So what is next for the left now?
Well, for the left, see, that's a difficult thing to say. In Tamil Nadu, it's a different matter. But for the left, there's also a national picture at stake. After the loss in Kerala, there's not much of the left actually. So they're out of power everywhere. They don't have any state government under them anymore. They've got MLAs and MPs here and there. So for the left, the challenge is more organizational and electoral than bothering about what's exactly happening in terms of government formation in Tamil Nadu. For them, the challenge is much larger. Redefining their politics, finding a new generation of leaders, a new set of leaders who can take the party forward, rebuild the party, not just in Tamil Nadu, where they are anyway a fringe player, but in neighboring Kerala, where they've been claimants to power. They've just been voted out after a 10-year run in power, you know, or even a revival in Bengal or in Tripura, which were left bastions at one time, where the left is completely in tatters. So for the left, it's more of an existential crisis at this point, whether they support the government in Tamil Nadu or become part of the government in Tamil Nadu. It's a matter of 4 MLAs, 2 from the CPI, 2 from the CPM. That doesn't really make much of a difference to the left in Tamil Nadu. The questions for them lie beyond Tamil Nadu.
Right. So now let's get a little larger picture. So with the DMK snapping ties with the Congress, so and also Akhilesh Yadav's comments on X. So do you think is this the end of an India Bloc story? How do you see this entire episode?
See, this is naturally, as I was explaining earlier, the manner in which the Congress has done it has, it's natural that it has caused a certain degree of unease among various allies, and in fact even among a section of the Congress's own leaders. And that the tweet that we have on our screens of Mr. Akhilesh Yadav, the Samajwadi Party chief, what he has essentially done is shared one photograph of his recent visit to Mamata Banerjee, another of his visit earlier to Mr. Stalin, and said that we're not the kind of leaders who desert our allies in their time of need. He hasn't mentioned the Congress by name or a Congress leader by name, but the message is very clear that you don't do this to an ally, because you see, in UP, the Samajwadi Party is an ally of the Congress. So the hint, the message is very, very clear there that this is not how you deal with alliance partners. And in a way, this is something that the Congress has brought upon itself by treating the DMK in the way it treated the DMK over the last 4 days. And then, the way Rahul Gandhi has handled the question and the issue of alliances and his rapport with leaders of various allies during the Bengal campaign, which went side by side with Tamil Nadu. He went, and then there was this whole video, which in fact was a Rahul Gandhi video, campaign video, which the BJP was gladly tweeting away because Rahul Gandhi was essentially calling Mamata Banerjee a communal leader.
Yeah.
Now, it would have been understandable if somebody in the West Bengal unit of the Congress party made those comments, and Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary saying something like that about Mamata Banerjee could have been brushed off. But for Rahul Gandhi to be saying that about Mamata Banerjee, it's natural that the allies are not going to like it. And the Congress's position within the alliance has always been one of, it's more of a compulsion because it's a national party. It's the largest party within the opposition space. It has, 98, 99 odd MPs in parliament. So it makes it a natural de facto central pivot of any opposition coalition. But that does not mean that you treat your allies shabbily. You can't be bad mouthing them in a manner where you've got, even your high command involved. So that slights an ally. In Bihar, the RJD has been having a series of problems with the Congress. The Trinamool I just talked about, now the DMK. It's one state after the other where you're ending up alienating friends. And what compounds the problem for the Congress is its own inability to win elections, right? The only saving grace this time in that sense for the Congress is that they are the only ones who've won in Kerala, whereas Mamata Banerjee has lost, Stalin has lost. So this one stands out more of an aberration, I would say, because otherwise it's always the Congress losing badly. Like they've lost simultaneously, here in this round of elections in Assam, where they're at their worst performance this time. So, and that was a direct contest with the BJP, unlike Kerala, where you weren't fighting the BJP, but the left, and 10 years of anti-incumbency of the left. So, the left is going to be unhappy because of the way Mr. Rahul Gandhi spoke about Mr. Vijayan during the campaign in Kerala. Mamata Banerjee, Stalin now. It is bad optics for the India alliance.
So at this section, do you think regional parties are increasingly seeing Congress as an electoral liability than being an anchor? So how do you say this?
See, certainly and that has been true for quite some time. In any state where the Congress is not leading the alliance and is dependent on an ally, whether it is Bihar, whether it is Jharkhand, whether it is Tamil Nadu, all these states, UP, the Congress has always proven itself to be the weak link in a way, because it's unable to win on its own steam, and being, this national party, it will demand a very large chunk of seats in the seat sharing agreement and then not be able to deliver those seats, in terms of victories, not convert it into victories. So you end up pulling down the alliance instead of strengthening the alliance. Any alliance has to be of parties which act as force multipliers, which complement the strength of the other. Like in the case of Tamil Nadu, for quite some time, the Congress, whichever side it was with, whether it was the AIADMK or the DMK, it may be on the margins of Tamil Nadu politics, standing on its own. But when it was part of an alliance, it did bring a certain heft to those alliances by being able to bring in the Muslim votes, by being able to bring in, a certain certain sections of communities, whether it's the Muslims or the Christians or the Dalits in that sense. But that's not true everywhere else. Okay, so and then if the Congress does not have the support of these allies, it is nowhere. In Tamil Nadu, like for instance, in 2014, when the Congress went solo in Lok Sabha, it did not win a single seat. In Uttar Pradesh, in 2022 assembly elections, when the Congress contested solo without an alliance with the Samajwadi Party, it was reduced to 2 MLAs in an assembly of 403 MLAs.
Right.
So naturally, I mean, the allies would see the Congress as an electoral liability.
Right. So finally, with UP set to go for elections next year, how do you see this entire political scenario playing up in the state?
Well, see, UP is a very crucial state because it's, 80 seats in the Lok Sabha, uh, a sizable chunk of the population, all of those things. They often say that the road to power in Delhi goes through UP. So that's the position that UP commands. It's also a state where the Congress has been on the fringes and being pushed to the fringes increasingly over the last 40 years now. They've not been able to reinvent themselves. They've not been able to deliver victories. And so they are basically tethered to a senior partner, whether it will be the BSP or the SP. They need a senior ally with that heft, that organizational heft, to be able to carry the Congress on its shoulders. Now, if its alliance with the Samajwadi Party gets rocky, the Congress is going to look at a very, very bleak future in UP when UP goes to polls. Because, in 2022, despite the fact that Priyanka Gandhi was leading the campaign of the Congress in UP and they were fighting the election solo, as I said, it was reduced to 2 seats. And compare that to the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, where they allied with the Samajwadi Party, and the two parties together managed to win 43 seats out of 80 in the Lok Sabha. And they're hoping that that trend will continue in the assembly elections. But what complicates this now for the Congress is, one, you're still not seen as an electorally viable party. You're still not seen as an organizationally strong party. And compounding that with the current episode in Tamil Nadu and the way Rahul and other senior leaders of the party have commented about Pinarayi Vijayan or Mamata Banerjee, you're also now being seen as an unreliable, opportunistic ally. So when the Congress goes to the Samajwadi Party for seat sharing talks in UP, Akhilesh Yadav is certainly going to give them a very tough time. It won't be a very easy dialogue, both in terms of seeking the number of seats that it wants in the alliance and also in terms of the overall cohesion of the alliance narrative. So it is a very challenging time in that sense for not just, I would say, the Congress, but for the India Bloc as a whole, and in poll-bound states, wherever the Congress is an alliance with whichever party, for all of them.
Right. So clearly the cracks within the opposition are getting wider. So that's all the time we have today. Whether this is a temporary turbulence or a beginning of a larger realignment ahead of the 2027 is something that the Indian politics will closely have to watch. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us and providing us insights on the current scenario. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you.